Weirdly sinister for such a goofy game, isn't it? Alright, so MediEvil. This has always been one of those PlayStation games I find is quietly loved, but never really that popular. Uh, Even though MediEvil wasn't one of the games that I heard a tremendous amount of talk about when the PlayStation was making the rounds as a kid, as I've gotten older, I found that there are a lot of people who do hold this game in pretty high regard. I remember when the remake for PS4 came out, a lot of people started talking about the game and sharing their fond memories of playing it and all that good stuff. And, I'm glad that happened because at the time, my only knowledge of the game was due to the main character's appearance in PlayStation All Stars. So I gave the remake a try and I thought it was okay. But I was always curious what the original PlayStation game was about. So this retrospect I'm doing gave me a chance to go back and take a look at it, and it's still just okay. So, well, first, some genuine praise for MediEvil. I love the plot of this game. Essentially, it centers around a dark wizard who at one point attempted to conquer the world, but was defeated supposedly through the efforts of one Dan Fortescue. However, history has greatly exaggerated Dan's impact on the war, though he's hailed as one of the almighty heroes. In reality, he was one of the first people to be killed in the first charge from one of the first arrows fired, so he was really more of a martyr than anything. However, the Dark Wizard eventually returns and casts a spell over the land to resurrect an army of the dead to wage war once again. And the spell accidentally brings Dan Fortescue to life. And he's the only one who, for whatever reason, hasn't been brought under the wizard's control. So he takes it upon himself to prove to the world that he is the hero that history says he is, and defeat the wizard once again. So it's actually a pretty inventive story. I kind of like the idea that you're sort of playing as a loser of history, and that sort of plays into Dan's general character and vibe. Though you get the sense that he is, at the end of the day, a competent enough fighter as he is able to conquer all the challenges he's faced with on his own. You also kind of get the sense that he's kind of a goofball, too. It sort of makes sense that he died the way he did. But, he's still nuts up to save the day, so you gotta love the guy. You also gotta love the general vibe of the game. This game has a very heavy horror atmosphere to it, but it's also got a very cartoony atmosphere to it as well. That commercial I showed you almost depicted it as something of a survival horror game, but it's more akin to something like Castlevania if it was created by the makers of Animaniacs or something. It's very wacky, it's very quirky, it's not very scary, but, it's still very charming, and it's unique for the time period, too. This was the time period of, genuine horror games, so to have a game like this that is just having fun with macabre imagery and stuff like that was very welcome. Some really fun music, too. It sounds like something out of a Tim Burton movie. As for the gameplay itself, that's sort of where MediEvil starts to falter for me. So the game is sort of a weird combination of a Metroidvania and a hack and slash action game. You have a wide variety of levels to explore, and along the way you'll have to collect items, fend off enemies, and do all that fun stuff. Over the course of the game, you'll get new weapons and methods of dealing with the enemies at hand, and some of these weapons will actually allow you to access parts of the level that were previously inaccessible. So there's actually is a pretty nice sense of progression here, and it can be fun to play at times. However, my big issue with the game is really just the control of it all. The movement feels just fine. Combat just doesn't feel all that satisfying. There isn't much in the way of impact here, and though some of the boss fights can be a lot of fun, really the enemies can just be more of a nuisance than anything, especially when you get to the enemies that require more unique tactics to deal with. It's still not a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination, but it is starting to show its age a little bit. But it's still worth playing because of what a unique beast it is, and how much fun it is with its story and cartoony macabre imagery. I gotta believe that MediEvil was popular when it was making the rounds because it would eventually get a sequel on the original PlayStation. But this game came out right towards the end of the PlayStation's life cycle, so there wasn't a lot of interest in it, so it sort of fell by the wayside, unfortunately. And that was about all she wrote for the MediEvil series, though the games would still have their fans. There was even a remake of the first game on PSP. Dan's only noteworthy appearance afterwards was in PlayStation All-Stars, where he was a playable character, which introduced a whole new generation to the franchise, which is probably what led Sony to put a remake into production for the PS4. And even though the remake got a lot of mixed opinions when it came out, primarily because a lot of people saw it as a simple graphical overhaul of the original game, something that I'm very much in agreement on. I mean, the graphics in this game are just gorgeous. It still has that great cartoony atmosphere. I feel like a lot of people were just hoping it would be something a bit more along the lines of Crash the Insane Trilogy or Spyro Reignited, in that, you know, it's almost a completely new game. But, you know, Crash and Spyro just held up a little bit better than MediEvil did, so that's probably why the game didn't fare so well in the transition. It was really more of a super remaster than it was an actual remake. But yeah, MediEvil, I do recommend the series to fans of the PlayStation. This isn't a game that I think is worth owning the console for, but you know what? It's still a pretty fun game. But that's going to do it for MediEvil, guys. Join me tomorrow as we take a look at the next game in the PlayStation Retrospect. I'll see you then.